hope you're all amazing, and if you are not, I hope my video puts a smile on your beautiful faces and makes you laugh. Well, at least I hope that my video does give you a laugh, a chuckle. I like to think that that's the highlight of me doing these videos, that you can switch your brain off to someone talking in front of a camera for at least maybe a few minutes of your day. That's what I like to do a lot of the time. That's probably why I watch a lot of YouTube. If you're into that sort of thing, I recommend Jenna Marbles, all-time big YouTuber. She involves a lot of videos with her dogs, and I love how she does her videos these days. It's so good, so amusing, recommend her. The inspiration of this video comes from my previous video that I did, manga collecting for newbies and advice tag that I did, which was a whole lot of fun. This video could have been a million titles. What is the meaning in collecting? What is the point in collecting? Why should you be an anime and manga collector? But I feel like they're just such questions you can answer yourself. I really do. Which is why I went for a more relatable title. I feel like these days some people forget the meaning in having a collection, and we're talking specifically anime and manga collectors and having a anime and manga collection. And I feel like it's so more important than ever because of how I remember when I first started collecting. Oh my god, how much it has evolved. These days it really is about having a big collection, because the massive amount of people that post online now about their collections, YouTubers who feature their collections, you people you might follow on Instagram and Twitter, the massive draw-in and influence that fans are taken in by the idea of having a massive collection, and then what they end up collecting sits in dust, and that is just really sad. I remember when I first started collecting anime and manga, but I really consider myself more of an anime collector more than a manga. As you guys know, I've really only just started getting back into collecting manga at the start of this year. Way back when I was 18, 19 is when I first started collecting anime. Really, the friend I had back then was a massive influence over me. I remember seeing her anime collection size for the first time. I was just like you guys, new fans, astounded by how many she had and already had collected. And that was such a pass the torch kind of thing. She became half the reason why I felt inspired to want to start collecting anime. She let me borrow a lot of her series. We watched a lot of anime together, and eventually I just built up a lot of anime that I had already rewatched, and I just wanted then and there to start collecting anime like her. And that's when we, exchanged anime together. I would buy a series, and we would sometimes go halves on a series, and then we would watch them together. It was just such a fun time for me then, and every time I look at my collection now, I am really reminded of that, and that is where it all started for me in this now obsession and craze of collecting anime. Like anybody else starting collecting anime, I went through such a phase of, all these exciting new series, buying them blindly, and I've let go of plenty of series over the years that I know I'm not gonna probably touch again. It's not until you get older, now how I am, 10 years later, you realize that you just want more satisfaction out of your collection. That's how I approached my collecting probably within the last 3 or 4 years. Back then I only had my friend to talk about or share with about collecting, and there was a small other group of people that I had only to be able to share about my anime collecting. And look at how it is now. There is just a massive amount of community out there. Since I've spoken before, I created my new Instagram account. I've got into the manga collecting scene a lot more. And since creating like my Twitter so many years ago, I can't remember, thing in 2015 I think it was, I've been opened up to meeting a whole bunch of other new anime and manga collectors, and it really has been wonderful. But along with that, I've seen that now the idea of, you know, having a massive collection is just everything now. It never happened hardly when I first started collecting. Hearing people say that, oh, my collection's, you know, just really small compared to yours or compared to anyone else's, it makes me sad hearing comments like that. You know, it's like collecting has become this competition of who can have the biggest collection, and oh my god, it is such a toxicity towards new fans who are entering in and want to collect manga and anime, and it's just not good. It's not good. And also hearing a common remark within this community that you are not an anime fan if you don't collect anime and manga, or if you just collect digital, like manga for example, you don't collect physical copies, you are not considered an anime fan. That is just rude and outrageous to say that to someone, especially if they're a new anime fan. It's just rude, because having no collection does not mean that you are not an anime fan. But the day you watch your first favorite anime, read your first manga, you are a fan. And oh man, I feel like that's just forgotten. It's forgotten within this period of era now. How I perceive my collection every time I look at it, the true meaning in it, I feel like in any true meaning for any collector of all sorts, but here we're specifically talking about anime and manga, is you look at your shelf and you look at the things that you're going to rewatch and reread. I believe that is the truest meaning in having a collection. Things you're going to reread and things you're going to rewatch. Now that may sound so cliche, so obvious, but easily forgotten. Easily forgotten, people, trust me. What is the worth in having things on your shelf that you impulsively bought, you didn't like, or you bought out of hype, and they just sit on your shelf looking pretty and sit in dust? It, you know, feels sad for those books, and then they get forgotten about. I feel sorry for those books that just sit there and like they bring no spark to you. You want to look at your collection and feel excited, feel a spark. You know, my collection right now is like half of how I want it. Half of it, there is series that still spark enjoyment for me, but then there's a few little odd ones that I need to like rewatch and then consider, did I feel the same spark as I did when I first watched it? Does it really need to still be in my collection? And then I need to debate really if, you know, I want to, you know, sell it off, part with it, because, you know, it doesn't make me feel so bad now parting with the anime that I already have, because, you know, I either sell it off or I donate it, basically. Somebody else can go enjoy it. So half of my collection right now is of how I want it to be. But it's probably going to take me a while for it to, you know, be fully satisfied in what is there. And that's okay. That's just something to work with over time. But I had a massive reshuffle probably about a month and a half ago. And I would say I'm about 70% satisfied with how my collection is right now. If you've been collecting anime for as long as I have, for over 10 years, and I'm going to insert a picture right here of my collection, you probably might look at that and think, I mean, that might not be a lot compared to some people I follow that have massive collections that have collected for a longer period of time than I have. I look at my collection and that's 10 years worth. That is nearly 10 years, 9 to 10 years worth of collecting, that is. And that's not all been, I bought all this at once. This has been all sporadic. It's been at times when I've been able to, I can afford to splurge. Times I've been able to afford to get what it is that I want to get. You know, not all of this has just happened overnight, which some people assume. They should stop assuming that, trust me. In your collection, it should be about satisfaction. As you collect anime and manga for a long period of time, for as long as I have, You build up this, you know, wanting to have this satisfaction every time you look at your collection, and I do, even though there's parts of it that, you know, I need to, like, you know, rewatch some series and be like, do I really need you in my life? Will I be alright without you in my collection? You know, when you first start collecting, you're not going to ask yourself those kind of questions, and that's okay. It's fine to go be in the moment of what is new and everything when you're first starting out. You know what? That's fine. It's not until, you know, you've collected anime for a long time, you realize the things that I have realized now. Collecting should be for your own personal satisfaction, and it's fine to want to share it with the world, within the community. And I love that about anime and manga collectors, that, you know, no one's gonna trod on anybody else, and, you know, we're all just expressing our love for whatever shows, and I think that's just such a wonderful thing. But at the same time, just, it's forgotten, like some things in this community are, that collecting anime and manga should be about things that you're going to rewatch and reread. You know, you can get around that easily, as I've said in my manga tips one. You know, if you want to check out a volume 1 of a series or start a series, borrow it from your library, read it on the legal apps. There are ways around it. I'm not saying it's not okay to impulse buy. Of course it is. I'm not saying even now that I'm not gonna impulse buy, because if you see in my last video, I blind bought To Your Eternity based on what reviews I have read and what people have said about this series. And yes, it was a gamble, but I loved it. So this is staying in my collection. And also, I think that depends on the genre that you love, but this was for out of my genre box. This was. But having a collection, especially if you're a new fan, it should be about things you're going to reread, things you're going to rewatch. You know, it's just easy to be swallowed up in the hype of having a massive collection, and it feels like you're a complete loser if you have a small collection, which I've seen people express on Twitter and such. And, you know, it's just sad for them to say that, because they should be happy in whatever that they have in their collection currently. And it's fine for your collection to build up slowly over time. It really doesn't have to happen overnight. Collecting should not be about competition. It's not a bloody battlefield. It's not, and it shouldn't be treated that way. That's just how I feel about when it comes to collecting, and that's when things just get out of control. But really right now, how the community is right now is wonderful. But I just wanted to express my thoughts on this particular topic of anime and manga collecting. Have one for your own personal satisfaction. One that has anime and manga that you're going to reread and rewatch. Because, well, for me, that's what I believe is the true meaning in having an anime and manga collection. And feel free down below to leave your thoughts on what I have said, or what you believe a collection should be. Should it be about having things you rewatch and reread? I would love to know, from one fellow anime and manga collector to another. So I know this video is probably, maybe I was a little bit serious now and again, but when you gotta let out your thoughts, you gotta let out your thoughts, and that's just how I roll over here. But otherwise, I hope you at least enjoyed listening to me ramble as per usual. I look forward to reading the comments down below, and look forward to this week of my final video on Loha Lee's 30 for 30 April Manga Challenge week 4. I'm excited, so I'll see you guys in that video. Bye bye for now.